Hello good people and welcome back. Let's have a look at this position. Bobby Fischer plays as white against James T. Sherwin, one of the second games I featured here. Bobby plays knight to g5, provoking and attacking these squares, hoping that maybe his opponent will push here and then he can re-centralize knight to e4. The opponent doesn't budge and instead plays knight to e7, queen to c2, centralizing the idea of an h7 attack. Knight to g6, h4. Now expanding here and just making the position awkward for black. This is still underdeveloped. And then here the opponent played the even worsening knight to f6, at which point we look at a tactical idea here that Bobby, of course, had planned and foreseen. Can you find that winning idea? The answer, of course, in the video. Let's boost that ELO. Let's get it.
Round one, fight!
So this game took place in the New Jersey Open in 1957. White is played by Bobby Fischer and black is played by James T. Sherwin. It's interesting, though, to note that James T. Sherwin was international master strength, and this man graduated from the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, became a lieutenant commander there. He graduated from a law school, I think Columbia Law School, and he also became a CFO of Chief Financial Officer of a company. Now, how relevant is that to the board? Probably not a lot, but because Fischer is going to crush him anyway, and we're going to learn stuff about it, ideas and whatnot. Oh, before I begin, before I forget, if you find this content tolerable, it's helping your chess journey, and you kind of like it, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Let's get started. So white starts with e4, c5 by the opponent's Sicilian defense, knight to f3 by Bobby, e6 by the opponent, d3. Now this is a very closed Sicilian defense. The idea is to fianchetto here and not engage in the middle. That would open up into a more open Sicilian. Knight to c6, g3 by Bobby, fianchetto, knight to f6, bishop to g2, bishop to e7. That's a bishop. Castle king, castle king. Both sides have completed the development. Bobby's pawn structure is aimed at the king side here. As you can see, everything is solid on both sides. Knight b to d2. Rook to b8. Now rook to e1. Bobby is just playing solid, conservative chess here. Developing, and let's see what we do here. d6. Attacking e5. c3, preparing idea of d4, b6, now d4, queen to c7, and now e5. Bobby engages the middle, threatens to take the knight there, and creates tension. What to do? Knight to d5 by the opponent, so Bobby takes e-takes on d6, bishop takes on d6. And now we have knight to e4. This is a natural idea in these kind of positions. Centralize a knight. You don't want your knight on the rim, which is, there's a quote for that. It's the knight on the rim is dim. More importantly, a knight on e4, which is very central, shines because it has maximum range. And here, the opponent fumbles just a little bit and plays c4. In these kind of positions, unless you see a brutal tactic, you want to maintain the tension. More importantly, this bishop needs to go into a relevant square. You should just play bishop to a6, slicing through, and after takes, queen takes, after takes. You may have this idea, but this does isolate the pawn. But a queen like queen to c5 prepares the queen, at least the rook, I mean, while also keeping everything flexible. This is now developed. Here, first, inaccuracy by the opponent, c4. Ideas of trying to control d3 here, but it releases tension, and you lose the tempo. Knight takes on d6, queen takes on d6, and now Fischer has the double bishop pair. So Fischer starts with knight to g5. We're arriving at the position near the intro of the game. And the idea that Fischer has here is to try to poke the position, but more importantly, provoke h6. And in many cases, trying to provoke a pawn right in front of the king does weaken the king's defenses. And here, the opponent played knight c to e7. And if I'm actually looking at the analysis here, this isn't so bad. This isn't so bad, even though the knight gets to centralize on h6. But instead, after knight to g5, the opponent played knight to e7, which is actually, factually, a mistake. So 2 mistakes from the opponent and slight advantage already for white here. A reason why h6, even though it's a kingside weakening move, is better because, let's just go back. I said go back. If h6, you have knight to e4, centralizing and hitting the queen. Queen to d7, which looks so awkward because you're blocking the bishop, but also you're retreating. After queen to h5, this isn't mobilized yet. You have the immediate bishop to b7, solving your problem in the light squared bishop territory. Say after b3, you have f5. Again, it looks awkward, but this forces a couple things. It forces white to make decisive moves in the middle of the board because retreating here is just a bit of a disaster. This is weak. You're now blocking your bishop. Your rook is underdefended or underdeveloped. So after takes and takes, c takes on d, e takes on d, you now have a nice pawn chain there. Even though white does have the bishop pair, it's a little easier to play that. This is pretty solid on both ends. Instead, knight to e7. I think going in mind, Mr. Sherwin was thinking not to touch any of these pawns, just solidify the defense. So, queen to c2, threatening checkmate, of course. And we have knight to g6. Mobilize the knight there. It's protecting the front of g6. But then h4 comes. And it gets all funny here, because Fischer is intently trying to throw the pawn in front of the king side with h5. And here the opponent plays knight to f6. Here we're going to sharpen our tactical vision based on the last move, knight to f6. And I'm going to give you guys a hint, because this is a tactical sequence here. The queen and the rook are both the same diagonal. You can identify the color of that. You can pretty much guess that. Which leads us to, what move did Fischer play here, and what is the strongest It's a tactical continuation. Basically, to take advantage of everything that Fischer has done, including pushing the pawn here, and the power of the queen on that checkmating square. The answer in 3, 2, and 1. Fischer wins by sacrificing the knight. That's a brilliant move. And you do have to take it in some shape, way, or form. The worst way to take it is king takes on h7, and that would be the 4th questionable move of the game. Can you find the winning tactical idea here? Because the king is pinned. The answer, of course, in 3, 2, and 1. White wins with bishop to f4, brilliancy. You cannot grab, you can't grab, you can't. Why not? Because your king is being hit, and that is just a free, solid rook. Well, for the exchange of the sacrifice, of course. After queen to d7, you gobble, king goes out, now queen to e2. Centralizing, you're up the exchange and up in the position. In this position, after knight takes on h7, knight took on h7 after. Now I'm going to go back just a bit to show what engine level and Super GM level defense looks like if James T. Sherwin was a Super GM. And the answer is not knight to f6, but f6. Super awkward. But you sacrifice, king takes, h5, with the pin, and now you block. Now this leads to an insane tactical idea of h takes on g6, king takes on g6, and rook to e5. So not super insane, but I don't think anybody in their sane human mind, without the help of AI, would like their king to be hanging out in g6 while there's so many powerhouse pieces on the board. But that is, in fact, the best way to survive this game. In any case, we go back again, forward. Knight takes on h7, knight takes on h7, and now h5. And you can bank on the idea that Fischer's still eyeing these two pieces. We'll go back to that idea. And now you have knight to h4, which is a strong move, pretty appropriate, given the fact that it's giving up the piece that was sacrificed, so that if you takes here, I can't speak English, if you take here, bishop to b7, white is slightly up in a position here, but this is no longer viable. That no longer works. And Fischer is not that shallow, so after knight to h4, immediately he plays bishop to f4. Still having this attacked, and now slicing through. Queen moves to d8, takes this with tempo. You can't go here because this bishop occupies a square, so rook to b7. And now if you look at just the the strength of black's minor pieces is not very strong. You get the knight there on an awkward square, and you got a bishop there tripping all over its light square diagonal, basically unactivated. Fischer plays h6, inviting capture. Queen takes on h4, takes with tempo, attacking. This is still being attacked. King takes, and now you have rook to e4, intermezzo. Not quite, but it's a preparatory extra intermezzo move, hitting the queen. Queen to h5. Now we have rook to e3, again attacking, but more importantly, rook to g3 is definitely an available option. f5 by the opponent, still with that awkward bishop. Rook to h3, attacking the queen. Queen to e8. Now bishop to e5. Look at the sequence of events. This is such a powerful bishop. It's so central. It's bishop to e5, just slicing through the board. Knight to f6, queen to d2. Ideas there. Also ideas here. King to f7, and now queen to g5. Threatening here, and if you remove that, then you're toast. Queen to e7, bishop takes, queen takes, oh, bishop 2, or rather rook to h7. Check. After that, after the series of exchanges, notice that this is attacked twice. Queen takes, and somehow James T. Sherwin just absolutely collapses and takes the rook here. And the game is actually over at this point. After bishop to c6. It looks so easy if you're Bobby Fischer, by the way. I just want to point that out, but it isn't. But ideas that we can get from his games are also discernible, and they can be broken down. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I learned something from it. I'll see you guys later. Double peace.